If Shekinah really thought Sarper was going to choose her over everybody else at every single moment, this challenge may have been the wake-up call she desperately needed. Because the last resort just turned into absolute chaos. Shekinah already felt like the entire group had turned against her. She was isolated, angry, and convinced that nobody understood her side of the story. Then came the couple's challenge, and instead of Sarper focusing completely on her, he did something she apparently never expected. He helped Thais. And Shekinah was furious. She basically saw Sarper helping the woman she considers her enemy as the ultimate betrayal. Sarper, meanwhile, was standing there like asterisk. What exactly did you want me to do? Let her fall, asterisk. And honestly, that question says everything. But the cliff challenge wasn't even the only disaster. Behind the scenes, the women were tearing into each other, old grudges were getting worse, relationships were falling apart, and Shekinah was openly questioning whether she even wanted anything to do with this group anymore. So today, we're breaking down why Shekinah felt betrayed, why Sarper may actually have handled the situation correctly, and why this entire group seems completely incapable of letting anything go. Let's get into it. We start with Rebecca and Zaid, and their relationship is already hanging by a thread. Zaid tells Rebecca that he wants a real wife, which obviously sends Rebecca into an emotional spiral. She walks away from the conversation, and the therapist immediately points out the bigger problem. When things become uncomfortable, Rebecca's instinct is to leave. And that's exactly what happens. But then Zaid tries to explain himself. He doesn't mean that Rebecca isn't a real wife. What he means is that he wants more of her time. He wants her to be less busy and more present in their relationship. Now, is that the clearest way to communicate that? Absolutely not. Because telling your wife you want a real wife is basically throwing a grenade into the conversation and then wondering why everybody is screaming. Meanwhile, Shekinah is listening from outside and has completely had enough. She doesn't want to participate in the therapy anymore. She feels like Rebecca is constantly cutting Zaid down, and she can't understand why he continues putting up with it. Sarper tries to convince her to return to the group, but Shekinah refuses. And this is where something interesting happens. Sarper understands that Shekinah is upset, but he also realizes they're wasting an opportunity. They came here for therapy. They came here to work on their relationship. But Shekinah doesn't want to sit there while she feels attacked. So Sarper has to make a choice. Does he fight with Shekinah, or does he let her cool down? And considering how quickly their arguments can escalate, Sarper decides that tonight is probably not the night to pick another battle. Honestly, smart move. Number. The group turns against Shekinah. Then we get to the part that made me uncomfortable. The women are sitting together, talking about Shekinah, and the conversation quickly turns into mocking her. They're laughing about her behavior and even joking about her leaving Zaid. Rebecca apparently becomes so angry that she says she wanted to strangle Ximena after Ximena suggested Rebecca should leave Zaid. That is a lot. Then somebody suggests that Ximena should go back to her country, and everyone starts laughing. And this is where I have to say something. I understand that these people have legitimate problems with each other. I understand that Ximena has said things that upset people. I understand that Shekinah has also said things that have made the entire group uncomfortable. But once a group starts piling onto one person, it becomes uncomfortable to watch. Because suddenly, it's not about resolving a relationship problem anymore, it's about humiliation. And that's exactly why Shekinah feels like the entire house is against her. The problem is, she isn't exactly helping herself either. Instead of trying to rebuild bridges, she continues calling people out, assigning blame, and making it clear that she doesn't trust them. So she's caught in this horrible cycle. She feels attacked, so she becomes defensive. People react to her defensiveness. She feels even more attacked. And then everyone wonders why the situation keeps getting Russ and Paula's marriage is also falling apart. And while all of this is happening, Russ and Paula are dealing with their own disaster. Paola is frustrated because she doesn't feel like her needs are being met in the relationship. She admits she's even considered divorce. That's not a little disagreement. When somebody gets to the point where they're seriously thinking about ending a marriage, something has already gone very wrong. The therapist tells Russ that change has to begin with him. And honestly, that's probably something Russ needs to hear, because you can't repair a relationship by waiting for the other person to change first. If Paola feels disconnected, Russ can't simply argue that he's doing enough. He has to actually understand why she feels that way. And that's one of the biggest themes of this entire episode. Everybody wants to be understood. Almost nobody wants to listen. Number, Cara and Guillermo hit another wall. Then we have Cara and Guillermo. And their situation is complicated because they're dealing with something much bigger than a simple argument. Guillermo has drawn a hard boundary regarding Cara's adult-oriented online content. His concern isn't only about himself. He's worried about how their son could be treated at school because of it. Cara insists that she's thinking about her family and that she needed the income. But Guillermo doesn't agree. And this is where I think Cara makes a major mistake. Instead of simply saying, "This is the decision I made, and I understand that you don't agree with it," she keeps trying to convince Guillermo that she had no choice. That's a difficult argument to make, because there is a difference between *** wanting something *** and *** needing something ***. And if you're trying to repair a relationship, sometimes the best thing you can do is acknowledge that the other person has a legitimate reason for feeling hurt, even if you still disagree with them. Guillermo clearly isn't ready to move past this. He doesn't want physical closeness. He puts distance between them, yet at the same time, he still holds her hand. And that tells me there are still feelings there. But feelings alone don't fix broken trust. Number, and then comes the challenge. Now we get to the moment that changes everything. The cast is told they're going to rappel down a massive cliff. And Sarper is terrified. Honestly, I don't blame him. I'm not exactly volunteering to walk off a mountain either. But the challenge isn't simply about surviving the climb. It's about communication. One partner goes down while the other gives instructions. And that's where Shekinah thinks she and Sarper are finally going to get their moment. Except something goes wrong. Thais is struggling, and Sarper notices. Instead of ignoring her, he starts helping her. He gives her directions, he encourages her, he tells her where to place her feet, and helps her navigate the difficult section. And from a normal human perspective, this seems like the obvious thing to do. Someone is struggling on a dangerous cliff. You help them. But Shekinah doesn't see it that way. To her, Thais isn't just another cast member. She's her enemy. So when Sarper starts helping Thais, Shekinah feels betrayed. She basically says, ***, how could you help her? ***. And Sarper's response is basically, ***, what was I supposed to do? Let her fall? ***. Exactly, what did Shekinah expect? Was Sarper supposed to watch someone struggle simply because they had personal drama? This wasn't a popularity contest, it was a safety issue. And that's where I think Shekinah loses the argument. Number. The real problem between Shekinah and Sarper. But here's the thing. I don't think Shekinah is really angry about the cliff. The cliff is just the trigger. The real issue is trust. Shekinah wants Sarper to demonstrate loyalty constantly. She wants him to prove that he's on her side. But Sarper may be starting to realize that being her partner doesn't mean automatically supporting every single reaction she has. That's a very important distinction. A healthy partner can say, "I love you, but I don't agree with you." And I think that's what Shekinah is struggling with. She sees disagreement as disloyalty. Sarper seems to be learning that sometimes loyalty means refusing to participate in unnecessary conflict. And honestly, that's growth. Because if Sarper had ignored Thais purely to make Shekinah happy, what would that accomplish? Nothing. It would only reinforce the idea that every disagreement needs to become an enemy situation. Number. Shekinah's Instagram Q&A makes everything worse. But just when you think the drama is over, Shekinah goes online and starts answering fan questions, and wow, she does not hold back. She explains that the challenge was supposed to be about communication between couples and argues that Sarper focused too much on guiding Thais instead of concentrating on her. She also says she's not impressed by the idea that Thais was in serious danger, and then she starts giving her opinions about practically everyone. Jenny and Sumit, she calls them angels. Russ and Paula, not exactly the same energy. Rebecca and Zeed, she believes Zeed is afraid to leave and is being emotionally mistreated. And when it comes to Patrick and Thais, she drops a comment that clearly hints at their previous drama. Basically, Shekinah is saying, asterisk, asterisk, you asked me what I think, so I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. Asterisk, asterisk. And this is where I wonder if she realizes that every time she talks about these people publicly, she gives them another reason to dislike her. If your goal is to leave the show behind and move forward with your life, why keep reopening every single conflict? At some point, you have to decide whether you want peace or whether you want the last word. You can't always have both. Number. I want to go home. And that's what makes the thumbnail line, asterisk, asterisk, I want to go home, asterisk, asterisk, so interesting. Because by this point, Shekinah looks completely exhausted by the entire experience. She feels isolated. She feels misunderstood. She feels like the other couples have formed their own little group. And now even Sarper has disappointed her by doing something she considers disloyal. But maybe the bigger question isn't whether Shekinah should go home. Maybe it's this. Asterisk, asterisk. Was she ever willing to be part of the group in the first place? Asterisk, asterisk. Because therapy isn't supposed to be about proving you're right. It's supposed to be about hearing things you don't want to hear. And that's incredibly difficult when you already believe everyone else is against you. Number, final reaction. At the end of the day, I think almost everyone in this episode is contributing to the chaos. Rebecca and Zeed can't communicate without triggering each other. Russ and Paula are talking about problems that could potentially end their marriage. Cara and Guillermo seem stuck in a disagreement neither is willing to release. And Shekinah and Sarper are discovering that loyalty doesn't mean agreeing with everything your partner does. But the biggest mistake this group is making is turning every disagreement into a permanent war. People are keeping score. Who said what? Who attacked whom? Who apologized? Who didn't apologize? Who helped the wrong person? And after a while, nobody is actually listening anymore. As for Sarper helping Thais, I'm sorry, but I don't think that was betrayal. I think it was basic decency. If someone is dangling from a cliff and needs help, you help them. That's not choosing their side. That's choosing not to be a terrible human being. And Shekinah may eventually realize that. But right now, she seems convinced that the entire world is asking her to choose between standing up for herself and simply getting along with people. Maybe there is a third option. Walk away from the drama without turning everyone into an enemy. So now I want to hear from you. Asterisk, asterisk. Was Shekinah right to feel betrayed when Sarper helped Thais? Or was Sarper simply doing the right thing? Asterisk, asterisk. And be honest, if you were Shekinah, would you stay at that retreat and finish the therapy? Or would you pack your bags and say, asterisk, asterisk, I want to go home? Asterisk, asterisk. Drop your thoughts in the comments because this cast clearly has a lot more drama left to unpack.